gonna go over a general sales cycle, right? What's the first thing you have to have before you ever try to sell something?
A prospect.
Product.
Product or service. Gotta have something to sell. Product or service. Okay. What products do we sell?
Health insurance.
Okay. More specific. What are the two main products?
Medicare Advantage plans. Medical supplements.
Okay. What else?
Home health care, hospital indemnity. Value-based care. That's not what I'm selling now.
Sure it is. In this case.
And dental.
Oh, let's go.
Yeah. Do we do hearing ABH plans or
I don't know. I'm
standalone
sure.
dental, standalone vision?
Yeah.
We
Okay.
don't really sell the vision.
What else is another thing that we have to sell? Man, so let's go, kid. This is the biggest one. Is you selling yourself, okay? So we have to, what do we have to do to be able to sell something? We have to understand it,
Correct.
right? So how many of us say that we understand any of these products and how well? What's the value?
I understand them very well.
Awesome. If we don't, what are we doing to get better at it? How many of you think you understand what's the most important thing that needs to be sold?
Do I understand that I'm the most important thing to be sold, or do I understand myself, period?
There we go. Do we understand ourselves? How well do we understand ourselves? If not, what are we doing to understand the most important part of sales, which is selling yourself and your own value? If we don't understand the product, which is us, how can we ever expect to be a successful salesperson? So no fear. If we don't understand the value of any of these things, we can learn the value. It's a beautiful thing, is we can learn the value in our products. So I'd encourage you, if you don't understand any of these, it makes it extremely hard if we don't understand the product we're selling to then explain to the client why it would be valuable. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So you have a product or a service. Now the next part of that is what, Drew? It's the first thing you said.
I'm blanking it now. Prospect.
There we go.
A person to sell it to. Prospective client.
Yeah, you gotta have a prospect. Guess what? Andrew does the prospecting for us, right?
Correct.
So there's something else though besides having a prospect. We want to have a what type of prospect?
Qualified.
Yep. I have a qualified prospect. It's extremely important on the second part. Sometimes we get so excited, right? Here all the time. Oh, I almost sold that supplement.
But he didn't have Part B.
They just had cancer. Oh, shucks. People that can't buy what you have always want to buy it. People that don't have Medicare A and B always want a bunch of free insurance and extra benefits. So we have to make sure we're identifying if they're qualified. Okay. Let's just go with VBCs. What are the stipulations on qualifications for those?
There has to be one in the county.
B1 of what?
A clinic available, Oak Street, Medicare.
Okay, there has to be a value-based care facility. All right, that's one.
Power of attorney and TRICARE covers all that stuff, employee coverage.
They gotta have A and B.
Okay, they have to have A and B, which leads to them what?
Being a Medicare eligible.
Okay, all right.
I don't know.
It's a problem.
We just listed a few, didn't we?
Sure.
They have to have a plan that goes with it.
There you go. They have to have a
Well, they have to
qualified
proceed.
plan that the clinic accepts. Does that make sense? So let's make sure that we're transferring qualified people to the value-based care center. They actually, if they have a power of attorney, that's fine. We can still transfer them. Right? Of course, if they have employer coverage, well, I guess they could have an accepted plan, so I don't want to eliminate that. Right? The biggest thing is we have to know their plan type, Humana, Gold Plus, HMO, or PPO, or POS, right? What type of plan is it before we transfer? Okay, so we need to know if they're qualified. Second part of this, with the prospecting, or prospecting, is you have to understand the prospect. Right?
Sure.
So, would you say our clients, you'll get an answer, Lance, are trusting or not trusting?
You said anyone but Lance?
Yep.
Untrusting, weary, or just too trusting?
Well, we got to pick one.
Okay, I'll say the majority of them are untrusting.
Okay. Why then the number one scam demographic? They don't trust anybody.
So they're scammed more because they don't trust?
I'm saying, how can, if they don't trust anybody, why are they the number one scam demographic?
They're the most targeted, maybe.
And maybe that's part of why they don't trust, because they have been scammed at some point.
Or they still get scammed.
So they're too trusting.
There we go. Someone's reading between the lines. So the thing with most of our clients is they're guarded. As soon as you break down their defenses, right? They tell you their whole life story. Have you ever sat with an old person? And then as soon as they like you, they talk to you for days, right? They tell you all kinds of stuff that you don't want to know. Old people give 0 Fs, right? So they're actually extremely trusting. We just have to start to build rapport, which then leads to them trusting us. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And how do we do that? We have to identify one of 3 things and put them in a box.
Their the personality type,
There we go.
communication style,
Yeah.
whether it be how'd you say it?
Prospect.
Yeah, ass, anal, or talk.
Yep. The talking ass is anal. Talker, analytical, or brass tacks. Their communication style. Yeah, so their personality is really their communication style. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So next, after we have prospecting, we basically have what's known as an intro or contact, right? What do we do in you guys have your call flow, right? Our initial contact and qualification. What part of the call flow is that?
Very first part.
Very first part. That's weird, right? Our initial contact. And our qualifier is the very first part of our call flow, which means we shouldn't skip that if it's the first
Step
Step
of sales cycle.
of our sales cycle, right? Does this make sense?
Mhm.
When you are cooking something, does the order of the ingredients matter?
Absolutely.
It's the same thing with sales. If you get stuff all out of order, the end result tastes or looks like nothing compared to the beautiful magazine or when your grandma cooked it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So we have our initial contact where we need to start to build what?
Report.
Yep. Where we start to build rapport. If we can't connect with the client, we'll never start to build trust. Can we ever have credibility if they don't trust us? And trying to think if we can get around this one. Do you think you ever start to build trust if they hate you or don't like you? Maybe hate's a strong word.
It'd be tough.
It'd be tough. I would think
it's
so.
not impossible.
It's not impossible. But in this type of sales cycle,
It's not the ideal way to do it.
not the ideal way. In such a short sales cycle, it's probably more difficult. A longer sales cycle, they may not have to like you honestly to trust you, but it's a longer, more in-depth sales cycle, and it's probably a bigger ticket item where they're more worried about the end result and the monetary value or value than the actual salesperson they're working with. But it does make a big impact. All right, so we have our initial contact, and part of this is to see if they qualify. See if they qualify. Where in the call flow do we start to see if they qualify?
In the introduction,
100%. So what's the first qualifying question we ask?
you have A and B.
Do we have A and B? Okay. What's the next thing? It actually isn't an order on the call flow. I don't think, did they ever change that, Lance? Do you know? The order of the disqualifiers, or is it still all whack on the call flow?
I think that it's a little weird. No, I think it's right.
It goes from there to
Are you talking about power of attorney in those questions? You ask power of attorney first.
Is it in the right order on there?
it goes zip code, then power of attorney, then
Employer
employer coverage.
Oh, they fixed it.
Yeah.
Nice. Cool. So then we have A and B, employer coverage. Then what was next?
VA or TRICARE.
Awesome. We'll just go, not UA, VA. Okay, VA. Military
Power of
coverage.
attorney is in there too.
Awesome. Well, that's good. I took forever to fix that. All right, so we have our initial contact, qualification, and then our needs analysis and discovery. How are we identifying, and I'll just stick with the VBCs for now, but this is relevant to any product. How are we, in step 4, needs, what are we doing to identify needs on these VBC transfers?
Asking lots of questions.
Are we?
It should be.
Because I don't know, I didn't write the VBC script, nor have I think I've ever looked at it. What does it say for needs? Do we have a needs analysis for the VBC?
Yeah, you're supposed to click on the bulletin and read like the quick little snippets of what they have to offer. So it's less of like,
So how many of us, sorry to cut you off, Drew, how many of us are actually doing that to identify needs?
I don't necessarily identifying needs that way. I think there's a part on here where it asks like general information about their regular doctor, anything about their benefits that they wish they had or wish they had increased or something like that. A lot of times they bring out like grocery card and stuff. So we usually tell them just like we can look into that, but these are what we do have available, and then most of the things that he's got.
Okay, what were you gonna say, Drew?
I'd say that portion of the call flow is less for me about discovering or realizing needs because they've already told me everything. Like in this first part, I'm asking about co-pays for doctors and prescriptions. That's the needs. That's why I'm talking to them about their doctor. And then the VBC stuff, it's like, oh, do you want same day appointments? They might already have that. I don't know. They might already have prescriptions mailed to their door. They don't need to go to the pharmacy to get them. So like,
Are we asking these questions though to find out if there is a need for the product?
No, I haven't.
I'm asking them more for the purpose of following a call flow, assuming that it's going to help, the persuasion.
One more time.
I'm asking the questions not for the purpose of finding the need. The need I've already discovered at this point in my call flow.
Okay.
I'm still asking the questions.
How though? What do you mean? How are you finding a need how are you discovering the need if you haven't asked before you ask questions?
Well, I've asked the questions before I get there. Ask different questions. So if they tell me they're in a wheelchair, then I know they need their transportation.
I'll follow. So you are asking questions. Those questions per se aren't necessarily on the call flow.
Correct.
Got it. So are we asking any questions to see if when we offer the VBC, there's value
I could be a lot better about that.
besides
personally.
Drew?
Yeah.
Because if you aren't, then you better get really good at ramming something down somebody's throat. Because what do you fall back on if they give you resistance?
I just say, I can't see everything they're offering. I can only see these things. The best thing we could do is connect us with a VIP agent and hear from them directly, where they're located, what they're offering.
Okay. Not bad.
So that's me kind of like grabbing the bull by the horns.
Sure.
Sometimes it falls apart right at the end.
So would it be beneficial to maybe ask a couple questions
Yeah.
based on what the clinics offer?
Yeah.
Simply, would it be helpful if insert what they offer? And if they say no, no kidding, how come? Does that make sense? It doesn't have to be that elaborate with something like this. Just start asking some sort of question to find something that if they give you pushback at the end, you can at least just tie back and say, hey, well, you had mentioned it wouldn't be a bad idea to check.
So maybe something like in the earlier flow, I said, how easy of a time do you have making it to your physician? Is it ever complicated? Because free
Sure.
rides are one of the main things. Okay.
Yeah, sure. Whatever questions are going to relate to what the clinic offers, right? What kind of relationship do you have? Or I'm trying to think of a question. How do you go about picking up your prescriptions?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Do you drive yourself to the doctor? Whatever the clinics offer, if you guys write that stuff down, I can help you structure questions because I don't know what they all offer, but just start asking those sort of things through a general conversation. You don't want to be an interrogation. You want to be a conversation. Okay. So we have to have a needs analysis. We have to. Part of a sales process. Okay. 5. What do we think the next part is? It's pretty interesting. So who remembers the 4 things anytime you get up a phone call you can ask yourself? This is just a quick check. After the why comes, we need to find a what.
I don't know how I was on that list, but it wasn't.
The problem,
Okay. After we find a problem, they need to,
acknowledge it, identify it,
yeah. And then after that,
solutions.
so after we find needs, right? According to this, right, they would acknowledge it. But then we need to provide a
Solution.
Okay. That's when you're going to transition to, hey, I tell you what, this is what I'll do for you. I'll go ahead and connect you with a VIP representative. They can go over in a little bit more detail. If you like what you hear, great. Talk about the next steps from there. If you don't, no harm, no foul. Sound fair enough? Right? Now, after we present the solution, what happens if they don't like it? Then we have
How
to,
come?
what?
Then you ask how come?
That's true. No kidding. How come? All right. But if they say they don't like it, they're starting to give us objections. Yes.
Stalls.
So we got to overcome objections. You need a product or a service. You need to prospect, which is done for you. Once we have a qualified prospect, we need to make contact. From contact, we then need to find out if they need what we have to offer. If there's a need, we then present a solution. When they get scared, we then need to overcome objections. All right. Now let's work on overcoming objections. What objections have we ran into?
I don't like change.
Change what?
I don't want to change my plan. I don't want to change my doctor.
Perfect. So it sounds like, I have to acknowledge what I said. It sounds like you don't want to change your plan or your doctor. Okay. Is that the only thing keeping you isolate? So overcoming objections is this. You want to acknowledge you heard what they said, right? Then you want to, what do I want to say here? Then you want to repeat back. In one of three ways. Sounds like.
Feels like.
Sounds like. Feels like. Seems like. Right? In this case, sounds like you aren't interested in changing plans or doctors. Right? So after we repeat back what they said, what are we getting when we repeat this back in the form of a question?
Better sense of their perspective.
Okay. Sure.
Confirmation, kind of like a baby trial close on their emotions and their stance in the situation.
So are we making assumptions when we repeat back what they say in the form of a question and they say yes or no?
I don't think so.
No, we're getting clarity, right? We can't close without clarity. We don't know if we're addressing the right problem. We have to get clarity. So we want to acknowledge, repeat back in the form of a question. Sounds like, seems like, feels like. You can use this when you meet strangers. Oh my gosh, it sounds like you really love your job. You want to go on a date, you can use the same framework. It works great. Okay. Acknowledge, repeat back in the form of a question. This then gives us clarity. Clarity. And we can start to address the real problem when we have clarity. Right? That makes sense?
Yeah. Yeah. What if they're objecting, but we don't know why? How do we get to the root of it? Is that where we'll say, like, is this because you want to keep your doctor, or is this because what's the other angle?
I guess I need more context than what was your question again?
Okay, so if they're objecting, but we don't yet know why, they don't outright.
Oh, they're
say
never
it.
going to tell us. Well, I don't want to say 98% of the time they aren't going to tell us why. That's why we need to get clarity. So we're going to use our intuition. It sounds like you just aren't interested in changing doctors.
Okay.
Oh, I forgot something on here. We need to isolate after we get clarity. Clarity and then isolate.
Isolate the problem.
The
Discontent.
So we want to isolate that this is the only thing that we need to fix.
What if they say no?
Okay, generally it won't. You can come in, Cody. Generally, they won't just say no. They will go. They'll bring up another issue. So, for example, is there anything about there? Are there anything about the additional benefit or the updated plan that you don't like? They'll go no, but I just really like my doctor.
Okay.
What's the problem?
So okay.
Well, I mean, sure, yeah, that is not incorrect. But they're concerned about, yes, whether they're in the network or not. Does that make sense? So then I'm going to read between the lines. This is a doctor thing. So then I'm going to go, okay, so it sounds like you like all the additional benefits, You're just concerned about your doctor not being covered.
Yeah.
They go, yes, I'm then going to isolate. Okay, besides your doctor, you're concerned about your doctor not being covered. Is there anything else keeping you from getting all the benefits, coverage, protection that you're entitled to? Go ahead, Lance. Oh, were you raising your hand?
No.
Did
Um,
you say why we do that? You said why we do that? I'm coming in.
Why we do what?
Like why we're isolating and then figuring out further. Like the why behind it.
No, I haven't. Does anyone know why we isolate?
I could take a stab at it.
Take a stab,
Um,
a deep one.
because it's that much easier if they like every benefit and one hang up is
What's happened when someone says, well, the premium's too high, and then you move some shit around and lower the premium? What then happens most of the time?
Then they realize that that's not the premium wasn't the only hang up
They come up with another
excuse.
or objection. Does that make sense? Is that where you're going with, Brian?
Yeah.
Okay. So 9 out of 10 times in sales, every single time, the first thing they tell you is not the truth.
So you isolate it to avoid having to do it again. in the future.
Over and over and over and over again. Normally, you'll have to do this 3 to 5 times. It's weird. I told you, you'll find a pattern. 3 to 5. 3 to 5 levels down. 3 to 5. Seems like, feels like. Is that the only thing? Nope. Okay. What else? My pet rock is sick. This, besides your pet rock being sick. Is there anything else? It's Monday. I understand. We just keep repeating this pattern until we get to the real issue, which is, who knows? But it comes out in the end. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So we need to have a product or service. You also need to understand the product or service. If you don't, you can't build value. The biggest value we have is us. Are they doing anything productive out there besides distracting? If we don't understand the value, and we are the most important part, right? It's very hard for us to sell, right? Or to believe we're providing value to the client. Does that make sense? We need a prospect after we have a product. Or we need prospecting. That's done for us. Then we need to say hello. You knock on the door, pick up the phone, right? Fortunate for us, we don't have to do any of that. We just sit there and say hello. Most people have it a lot rougher than that. To dial 300 numbers, 295 are disconnected. 4 of them tell you to F off, and you get 1 qualified person a day, and you better hope you close. Right? After we get them on the phone, we do an intro. We need to ask questions. To find out someone's needs, we have to ask questions. So only way to find out, right? So only way, we have to ask questions. Let me give you a little bit of an example here. If someone you ask, is there any benefits that you would like, is there any additional benefits you'd like more of? And they say dental. Hypothetically, then what do we do, Wilma?
After we've identified the needs, like the next step would be solution, but are we still on needs?
I don't know, I'm asking you.
Okay. Yeah, I'll expand on needs. So from my perspective with BBCs, that would be leading through questions like how easy is it for you to see your doctor? How do you get your
So let's just
prescription?
say we're talking about an MAPD. Sorry to change gears. We ask if there's any additional benefits they're looking for, and they say, yeah, I'm looking for dental. Where do we go next, or what do we do next?
We provide a solution.
Okay. What do you think, Lance?
I think if we ask what they need the dental for,
Boom. We have to go 3 to 5 layers down. Why do they need dental? What was this framework I did? What? What, when, how, what, when, why? I can't remember what it was. What do you need?
How long?
Why do you need it? And then how long have you needed or wanted it? Does that make sense? So when you're going through these, if you want to start to dig down levels, oh, no kidding. What is going on, right? That's causing you to need extra dental, or the what is the dental? Why do you need extra dental? And then why would we want to ask how long they've needed or wanted it?
Tells the story behind their experience.
Shows that you care and builds a sense of urgency in finding a solution.
Sure. Why is it important to find out how long they maybe needed that dental?
I mean, sorry, for me, it is an identification of whether or not like they're actually going to use it.
Or that it's really
a
what?
need.
More important.
Yeah.
What are you saying, Alex?
Or that they know how. You know,
Sure.
some people have these $20,000 Cigna dental plans. They have 20K dental. They're like, I don't have a dentist.
I don't know how many times I've talked to somebody that needed dentures and I asked how long. It's like for like 3 years.
So it helped us identify a lot with the how long. Probably one of the most important questions. One, we're going to find out that there's other ways we can build value. Being a professional, setting them up with a dentist, or a lot of times somebody will ask a question, they just say yes, and they've said they want extra dental, but they've had the same problem for 10 years. Is it really that big of a deal to them? It's been 10 years, unless we find out why they haven't had it done. If it's just, oh, I haven't got around to it, that's not a very big problem. Does that make sense? So it's important to find out how long they've needed or wanted, and then why they haven't had it done. So these probably switch, actually. What do you need? How long have you needed it? And why haven't you fixed the damn problem? Does that make sense?
Yes.
You can even go, what happens if you don't take care of it? Follow? All right, my board's getting a little messy here. It's like my brain. Weird. All right. So it's important to isolate, because if we don't, it's important to isolate because the first objection they give you is never the truth, ever. Very rarely. If it is, it's the exception. Okay. Does that make sense? Everyone, we're all good here? Right? After we handle objections with this framework, we acknowledge, we repeat back sounds like, seems like, feels like. We get clarity through isolation. We then need to what? The deal. Close the deal. Okay. Closing, this is when, if we haven't asked proper questions to find needs, and not only questions, what do we actually need to do when we ask the questions?
Listen.
To what? Or to who?
Client.
To the client. We actually have to be present in the moment and listen.
To understand.
You have to listen to the answers to the questions we ask. I don't know how many people ask questions when they don't even listen to what the person says. There's no point.
It's so hard. In
Just
that
pick-
space.
Just pick a plan and present it. You have the exact same luck of getting an enrollment versus not asking. If you aren't going to listen to the answers, there's no point to ask. And I'm not trying to be funny. I'm being dead serious. Like, you might as well just do whatever's in red and then say, awesome, I found a plan. I'm going to go over it with you and you let me know what you think. And save yourself 30 minutes. Okay, so we got to close. How do we close? Well, we want to identify buying signals, right? Those are micro closes. We'll go over more of that later. But I want to tie back and bring back up their needs they had mentioned. And then what we have to offer is the solution to their problem. So you bring up needs, their words, not ours. So if you haven't asked any questions, you can't close because you can't repeat back their needs in their words. It's you talking at them, not reminding them of what they said. It's extremely important. You know how many people have this problem? Have this problem. I guess they make it too. All right. So we need to bring back up their needs in their words, and then provide the solution. which is going to be a product or service. Follow? After that, we obviously want to follow up, right? Something I would start asking when you guys start selling actual like real products and not just a service, which is value-based care as a service, not really a product. Is do you mind if I ask you a couple questions? Were you happy with the service I provided? Should be a yes. Was there anything I could have done better? That should be a no. You then simply ask for, well, the biggest thank you I could get is if you knew one person that needed help getting insert what they're most excited about. A food card. Does that make sense? Why do we want to insert the benefit they're most excited about?
That's the emotion.
There's the most emotion attached to that value. Does that make sense? Follow? You happy with the service I provided? Could I have done anything better? I really appreciate that. Means a lot. The biggest thank you I could get is if you knew one person that I could also help get insert their benefit. Oh shoot, it's past 3:30. All right, that's a wrap. That's a wrap.
3:35, we just noticed.
Yeah,
Just so enthralling, one.
I just noticed. You guys got any questions?
No question.
What's the last step that is?
Follow up. And then game tape, baby.
I like to try to associate words with the different steps. Like you have prospecting as number 2.
Yeah.
And I like to, just for my own like mental preparedness, why am I prospecting? Well, to find a potential client. And then why am I doing an intro? Well, greeting, the warm up,
Mhm.
build rapport. Why am I fact finding? To discover needs. And then why
Find a
am
problem.
yeah. So
Yep.
I just like to put a little word to help me memorize. That way I'm like
So if you go over
doing it in
conviction,
my head.
right? Conviction, same thing. It's connect. Open, right? Intro. V, I don't know what it stands for, but it's the same thing.
Yeah, value, investigate.
Value.
time.
Awesome. Value is going to be, well, I guess solution probably. I don't know if it's in the best order.
And see, I was trying to do the same thing yesterday. So in value, I put
So
fact find.
yeah, sure. Yeah, you're trying to find a problem or where you can build value. Absolutely. So I don't know if that's necessarily in the right order, but it definitely hits all the steps in the sales cycle or process. Yeah. The most important, honestly, in any sale is finding out what you did well and what you could have done better.
The warm down process.
Yeah, whatever. I don't. Christian talked about whatever they did some training stuff over at wherever y'all came from.
Yeah.
What was it? Bankers.
Bakers.
Yeah, he said they had pretty good training. Over there. Yeah. Reviewing sales or no sales is it's what helped me make a lot of money.